Hey BookTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I am very excited to be sharing some of my favorite fairy tale retelling books. As you can see from my shelves, I really enjoy fairy tale retellings. I always have for as long as I can remember. Enchanted was one of the first books that I remember reading, and I have just continued that journey of finding retellings, and BookTube has opened up a whole bunch of new retellings to me, so I'm really excited to be sharing my top 10 favorites. And to share those, I am going to cut away to a bullet page in my bullet journal. Alright, so here we are at my bullet journal, and I am going to do a little bit of page setup here first. So here's my page. I'm going to do it in different colors. I'll probably do a little bit of a rainbow for the list. So we'll start with red. I do want to mention before I get into the list that all of these books are very clean, wholesome books, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend them to younger girls. And in fact, most of these are books that I read when I was a young child or in middle school and high school. The first book that I would recommend is Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. Enchanted is a Cinderella retelling, and Ella has to do everything that she is ordered to because of a, quote, blessing or curse that she had at birth from a fairy that she would always be obedient. So any direct order she has to follow. Enchanted is beautifully written. It has a great relationship between her and the prince. His name is Char, that really develops and you grow to just adore throughout the entire book. By the time you get to the ball at the end, you are totally and 100% sold on their relationship. Her stepmother and stepsisters have such hilarious personalities, and you really grow to hate them throughout the book. Ella herself is such a spunky, strong character. She is exactly the kind of character that I would want my daughters to look up to. My second recommendation is Fairest by Gail Carson Levine. Fairest is a Snow White retelling. One of the things that I think is awesome about this book is that the main character doesn't see herself as beautiful, and as a teenage girl, I had never come across a book where the main character wasn't beautiful, or at least acceptably attractive. It was amazing for me to be able to read a novel about a girl who looked down on herself because of the way that she looked, but then learn to have confidence in herself despite her flaws as the book progressed. And even though it is a Snow White retelling, it's not super obvious. It's kind of fun to see the way that she ties in some of the Snow White elements, but it's definitely a unique fairy tale story that has its own world building and its own unique characters. My third recommendation is The Goosegirl by Shannon Hale. The Goosegirl is a retelling of a more obscure fairy tale written by the Grimm brothers. We follow a princess who is betrayed and has very low self-confidence, and then she becomes basically a peasant taking care of geese while she is hiding, so she's not killed, and she gains confidence throughout the book in that regard. And it is a really masterful story. It has a really cute little romance in it, and the main character again is a really strong, not necessarily spunky, but very determined main character, and I love seeing her growth throughout the book. My fourth recommendation is The Sweetest Spell by Suzanne Selfers. This is a book that I actually found at a thrift shop kind of randomly. I picked it up because it was in such good condition, basically brand new condition, but the cover made me think it was a different kind of book than it is, but it is actually a really sweet retelling of The Ugly Duckling, which I have never seen before, and it was really well done. The magic system in it and the plot are all really original. The plot kept going in directions that I wasn't expecting. The characters are hilarious and charming. The main character is such a determined, strong girl who goes through so much bad, but then still ends up being just the sweetest character that you meet. I really, really love The Sweetest Spell. It's one that I haven't heard talked about a lot. The fifth one that I picked is The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Postone. Princess and the Fangirl is actually a retelling of The Prince and the Pauper, which was a fairy tale that I haven't seen a lot of retellings for, where with Cinderella there are obviously a lot of retellings of that one. It's a popular one. I thought that The Princess and the Fangirl was really, really fun too. I didn't actually like it quite as much as Geekerella, but I still absolutely had a lot of fun with it. I really liked how they played on The Prince and the Pauper with a celebrity versus a fangirl, and then making them female as well. It was really fun to see see some of the changes there. Watching the two girls switch places and fit into the other person's shoe was really fun because they obviously had biases about the other person's position, and those biases and false beliefs were really put to question as they had to live in those lives. And it was really fun to see the way that the author portrayed that, because I think that's how it is with most people. If we were to actually step into someone else's life, then we would see that their life is a lot different than what we actually think it is. I really loved the empathy portrayal there. My sixth recommendation is actually a series, and no one will be surprised to see it on here. It is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I don't own all of the books yet. My favorite is Cress. Winter is my second favorite. I really enjoy all of these. There's a Cinderella, a Little Red Riding Hood, a Rapunzel, and a Snow White retelling in this series. And if you haven't heard of this before, then I am amazed. If you've been on the fence or waiting to pick it up, it is one that you should pick up now. All 4 books in the series were 5-star reads for me. Every single one of them. I loved all of the characters. I loved the plot line. I loved the way that Marissa Meyer found to incorporate the different fairy tales into her science fiction world and the plot of each of her characters. It was absolutely brilliant, and all of the romances were very unique in all 4 books, but they all were very hard-hitting and believable. I love all of them. Although I will say again, Cress is my absolute favorite, and I love Thorn. My 7th is a repeat. It's the only repeat on the list, I believe, but it is Just Ella by Margaret Haddix. I don't actually own this one. It is one that I read in high school and I really want to revisit it. It picks up at the end of the traditional Cinderella story where she has won the prince and now she gets to be the princess, and it basically shows her in the palace life realizing that things are maybe not as good as she thought they would be, and that the prince might not be exactly the Prince Charming she thought he was, and she has to figure out what to do about that. I absolutely love Ella in this book. Her character is so proactive and so independent. She knows what she wants and she will do basically anything that she can to get where she needs to be. My next recommendation is a book called A Kiss in Time by Alex Flynn. This is another high school read that I don't actually own, but it was very fun. It was a Sleeping Beauty retelling that had some time travel mixed in, but it was mostly contemporary, and it was a really fun take on the original Sleeping Beauty story. My next recommendation is a book called Rapunzel, Untangled by Cindy C. Bent. This is one that I also do not own, although I found it more recently. I actually found it while I was pregnant with my second at our local library. This one is a contemporary YA book that has a little bit of magic mixed into it, which was a little bit surprising to me at the time. Because of the contemporary take on Rapunzel, it was really fun and unique, but she still had a lot of the Rapunzel elements in there, and the ending definitely took me by surprise, and it would be one that I would highly recommend if you enjoy retellings, and especially Rapunzel. And my final recommendation is Hunted by Megan Spooner. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It is very unique in the way that the Beast is portrayed. I've never seen a Beauty and the Beast retelling that portrays the Beast in this way. It very much focuses on Belle and the way that she is. She actually is a hunter in this, which was very surprising but very cool at the same time. She also was a very strong character, very protective of her family and wanting to do what was best for other people. Her character and the way that the beasts work perfectly together. It was definitely an intriguing fairy tale retelling for me. Different than what I usually read. So there is my list of my top 10 favorite retellings that I have ever read. Obviously, I have read a lot more retellings and enjoyed a lot of them, and there are a lot of different fairy tales that I didn't get to mention here, like Rumpelstiltskin or the Arabian Nights, and there are great books about those as well, but these are my top 10. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite retellings are, or if you have any recommendations for me. I love retellings and I'm always on the lookout for new great ones. So if you know of any, let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video or any of my recommendations, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.